When we make a decision, we're so stuck on that one decision, but we don't know all the other ones that are behind it of where we're supposed to get to. And one of the things that I live by now in my life is that there really are no wrong decisions. There's what's right for you today. And what does it take? 3 seconds of guts, right?
3 seconds of guts.
Yes. So
That's
we're very
awesome.
excited to be here and to share our real life stories and people we've worked with and what we've learned and how we're continuing to level up and not live a life of mediocrity.
So we're going to be sharing these tools. We're going to let you in on some secrets that maybe you might have heard of, maybe some things you never heard of, some things you might think were actually crazy, but you'll see that these tools actually work. And we're going to bring some guests on that will also talk about using these tools themselves and making their world so much better for themselves, their family, their community. Every time we post a new episode, just 3 seconds of guts to listen in. This podcast is for the rebels,
the misfits, the dreamers
who really are sick of living on autopilot.
Every week, we strip away the excuses, we break the rules, we give you bold, actionable strategies.
So you can crush your habits that hold you back.
Ditch the job you hate.
Build a life that you actually want to wake up to.
No fluff.
No permission slips.
Just real talk, proven tools, and a healthy dose of rebellion.
To help you break free and rise higher and own your next chapter.
This isn't just a podcast, it's an escape plan.
If you are sick of just following status quo, you have just found your people.
Hi, welcome to the 3 Seconds of Guts podcast. I'm Melissa Lewis, your co-host, and I am here with my friend of a very long time, Tom Scarda.
Mel, I am so excited about this podcast. I can't even tell you. This is so cool. I've known you since you're like 12, and now here we are doing a podcast together. It's so awesome. So Mel, we met back in, I don't want to date this thing, but like 2002-ish.
Yes.
Maui Wowie Smoothies is where it all began, right?
Yes.
So how'd you get into that?
So Tom and I have known each other 20 some years. So I started out at a small franchise company called Maui Wowie Hawaiian Smoothies, and I was their director of marketing. Tom was not only one of the most successful franchisees, he was the one that led the troops, that everybody wanted to be his best friend, and was very, very successful. And we just hit it off, right?
Yeah, we did. It was so fun because it was before you had children and were married. You were young, spunky, out of college, and you were like doing some cool stuff. And I always admired your marketing know-how. And so we just became friends.
Good match for sure. And then fast forward, Tom and I have both been franchise consultants for over 20 years. So we have stayed in the franchise industry. We have a lot of knowledge of not just franchise ownership, but what it takes to build a next chapter in your life, we call it level up, right? When you're at a stage of your life that you want to make a change, or maybe you know you deserve more, you're worth more, but how do you do it? And what does it take?
It takes 3 seconds of guts. and that's what this is going to be all about. And it's not just about business. This is going to be like, if you just want to get in shape, you want to lose weight, you want to fix your relationship, you know, whatever it might be, it's going to take 3 seconds of guts of looking in the mirror and saying, I'm going to change, but for real, not just talk.
This is a saying that Tom and I have used in our life. And when we were thinking of the name for the podcast, which took us like over a month to really find this right thing that explains getting to the next level, getting out of your comfort zone. How do you do it? How do you do it, right? And we realize that there's this saying that we use to get to that next level. And it's, you need 3 seconds of guts. And that is life-changing.
It really is. And it's, you know, for me, I grew up in a very blue collar family. My dad was a police officer in New York City. My mom worked for the Board of Education. And I was never told, like most kids, go to college. my parents said, don't go to college, get a job with a pension. And that's called being an at-leaster. At least you have a job and you know that you're going to have a pension in 20 years or whatever the deal was. And so I became a subway conductor because my parents signed me up to take the test. And then I drove myself to take the test for subway conductor. But they almost like held my hand to make sure that I get this city job. So at least I have a job.
Ooh, and at leaster. That really makes me think about, you know, failure is what we're all afraid of, right? But I don't believe failure is bad. And I absolutely hate the word failure because what is failure, right? It's really just learning and hopefully you take a lesson. But what I'm more afraid of, and I think a lot of people, is living a life of mediocrity. And
Ugh.
that is soul crushing, right? And just to be okay or mediocre is just not a place you want to be, which an at leaster, that's
Yeah.
quite a saying.
Yeah, and the problem is I can't spell mediocre, so so I need to not be mediocre because I can't spell it. I think that when I don't like to call it failure either. I call it a lesson. John Maxwell, who's an author, and some people might have heard of him. He's a great guy. He says sometimes you win, sometimes you learn,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
what they say fail fast and all that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to fail. Like,
Right.
don't fail fast. Learn fast. You could learn fast. That would be good.
Right. And that's really what we're here to do, is to talk about taking away the fear, taking away the shame or the worry of doing things, because action is really where life is. And what 3 seconds of guts means to me is that I don't need to be brave forever. I need to be brave for 3 seconds. Take a
Hmm.
deep breath and go.
Right.
Because once you do that, the world is going to level up to you. It's going to meet you. It's going to start opening doors. And then maybe you have to be brave for another 3 seconds, but it's not forever. It's just starting to take these small steps toward what you want. And when you do that, your life changes because you have the bravery to do that and the courage.
It's bravery, courage, and it's faith. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in the universe or in your God or whatever you believe. I call it the universe. And when you do that, you're choosing faith, that means you're choosing uncertainty. When you
Yes.
choose uncertainty, magic happens.
Yes.
And I wish I could spell out a formula for you, like, putting a little X plus Y equals, a grand awesome finale. It doesn't work like that. You have to take a step into that gray area, into that uncertainty, and have faith. And then the stuff that happens in your life is the stuff we're going to talk about on this podcast, to episodes in the future.
Yes, it comes to meet you, because really faith and fear are the exact same things. They're just, what do you choose to believe, right? You're believing in something that's not there, but are you thinking, with faith or with fear, or positive or negative? And I really believe when you're brave and you have the courage and you move forward, the opportunities then will start to reveal themselves.
Yeah, right. But they will not reveal themselves unless you take that step. Who was it? I don't. Maybe Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the first step. Just
Yes,
take a step."
yes. So I call myself a recovering chicken outer. And why this is so important to me is that I spent so much of my life chickening out. And the shame and guilt and the things that you feel after that when you really want something, but at the end you chicken out, it does something to you internally. And I made a big change in my life, probably in my early 20s, right? Before I met Tom, actually, that I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I really don't like, there's a lot of things I don't like. Heights is one of them, but there's these things that really do make me uncomfortable. But I make conscious choices to put myself in those situations, because that's where life begins. And the more that you do that, the more you realize, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to
Yeah,
be okay no matter what.
right. My friend and mentor Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, you might know, he says everything that you want in life is on the other side of fear. And once you can embrace fear, then you can live a fulfilled life.
Yeah.
And so we're going to teach you how to face your fear, how to live outside of your comfort zone, or just surfing on the edge of your comfort zone.
Yes.
That's where the magic happens.
Yes, it does. So fast forward to today. Tom and I are both franchise consultants. We've spent over 20 years helping people realize their dreams by becoming business owners. But if you spend 20 some years watching people make huge life-changing decisions, what do you learn, Tom?
Yeah. So what I learned, people will buy a franchise through me and then call me 6 months, a year, 2 years later and say, Tom, I should have done this 20 years ago.
Mm.
I don't know what was holding me back. Why was I so afraid? And what they were afraid of, for the most part, everybody could identify with this. Society tells you go get a job, go to school, get a job, be happy, and shut up, right? And then you wake up somewhere. They call it a midlife crisis. I call it a midlife awakening. You wake up and you're like, "Is this all there is? There's got to be more. There's got to be more." And then we take people, we hold them by the hand, and we help them through this more,
Yeah.
to find their more, whatever that might be. And it's different for everyone. People's goals, and it doesn't matter whatever your goal is. You're here for a short time. I think it was Steve Jobs who said, when he got diagnosed with cancer, and then he said, "Why did I wait? Imagine if I lived every day like I know I'm going to die tomorrow." And he knew that he was going to die because he was diagnosed with this cancer that they couldn't cure. It's very sad. Such a great guy. But that's what you need to do, is figure like, hey, you know what? What if I'm not here tomorrow? What am I going to leave for my kids? What's the legacy?
What's the legacy? And I would agree that everybody always says, why didn't I do this sooner? So when we got involved in franchising 20 some years ago, it was really interesting because the way that I came into franchising was not, most people who come into franchising, they don't think about franchising. They just kind of wind up there and then realize this is where I'm meant to be, like surrounded by entrepreneurs. But I was actually working for Xerox. So very young, I moved to Chicago and I got a job with Xerox and I was selling copiers, which will really provide a lot of resilience in life, let's say. I just realized this was not for me. I'm a girl from Florida. I moved to Chicago, which I love the city. I was just too cold and it was a little bit too corporate for me. And I remember at a very young age looking around thinking, is this all there is? Is this how I'm going to spend the rest of my life in a job I hate in a city that doesn't speak to my soul? And I moved to Denver and found franchising through Maui Wowie. And that's where our years of friendship started. But it was a really good awakening to me to realize the fear I had of moving, it was paralyzing. And once you do it, though, you realize that everything is going to be just fine. And usually there's something better on the other side.
Right. So when you're thinking like, hey, where am I going to move to? I know I need to do something. But then there was that moment where you had to have 3 seconds to say, I'm not renewing my lease. I'm moving to Denver, and you're like, oh my, like, of course, and you're not going to you probably weren't comfortable for like a whole year after the move, but you needed to get there and make it happen. And you did it. And then you look back, you're like, well, that was kind of easy, but what was holding me back?
Right.
It's kind of crazy. And just, I want to share, my foray into franchising happened a little bit differently than yours, because I was a New York City subway conductor. I was the guy opening and closing doors. If you ever rode the New York City subway, I was making the announcements that you couldn't hear. And one day, I was 23 at the time, and a senior person, an old timer who was actually the guy driving the train. I was in the middle of the train, opening and closing doors. We were in the lunchroom, and he said, Tom, this is a great job. You'll always have a shirt on your back. He said, you'll never have a silk shirt, but at least you'll have a shirt.
Oh,
I was like, at least?
at least.
Oh, my God. And I looked at my bosses, who I love, some I still actually talk to now, almost 40 years later. And, man, They were not living the lifestyle I want to live. They were not wearing the metaphorical silk shirts, but business owners were. And I
Right.
remember working on the trains and reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and Tony Robbins when his first book came out in the early 90s. And I was like, there's something more for me outside of this subway, which I love the subway world. I have my subway decorations behind me and stuff. But I knew there was more. And I ended up working with a franchise consultant who works with the company we work with now, Franchise. And she matched me to this company called Maui Wowie Smoothies. And
Full
I bought
circle.
it full circle. And I got into it. It was like late 2000. I actually opened up for business in 2001. I built it up to 3 locations in New York and Long Island. And in 2005, a mere 5 years later, I sold it and was able to semi-retire at 41 years old. And I don't say that to like impress you. I mean, I wasn't making a lot of money as a transit worker, but taking that action, taking that step, stepping out of the at leaster, stepping
Yeah.
out of the mediocrity, it changed my world forever. Not to mention, I got to meet Melissa.
It really is because when we make a decision, we're so stuck on that one decision, but we don't know all the other ones that are behind it of where we're supposed to get to. And one of the things that I live by now in my life is that there really are no wrong decisions. I used to put a lot of fear into right and wrong. There really is no right or wrong. There's what's right for you today.
Right?
And what does it take?
Three,
3 seconds of guts, right?
3 seconds of guts.
Yes. So we're
That's
very
awesome.
excited to be here and to share our real life stories and people we've worked with and what we've learned and how we're continuing to level up and not live a life of mediocrity.
So we're going to be sharing these tools. We're going to let you in on some secrets that maybe you might have heard of, maybe some things you never heard of, some things you might think were actually crazy, but you'll see that these tools actually work. And we're going to bring some guests on that will also talk about using these tools themselves and
Yeah.
making their world so much better for themselves, their family, their community, the whole butterfly effect we'll talk about. It's going to be a great journey on this podcast. 3 seconds of guts is going to take you to listen to this every time we post a new episode. Just 3 seconds of guts to listen in.
So our next episode, we're going to talk more of what have we been doing lately? How have we over the last year leveled up, right? And how are we using the 3 seconds of guts in our world to get to the next level? So join us for our next one. Subscribe so that you will continue to get each new podcast as we drop them. And we can't wait to see you guys again.
This is so great. I have so much gratitude for you, Melissa, and gratitude for everyone listening.
Me
So
too.
reach out if you have any questions. We're going to have all our stuff posted, our contact information and everything. So reach out and we'll talk to you guys soon.